Okay, Neal, now it's your turn. Okay. What are your thoughts on our recovery, especially around residential and non-residential construction?
Well, I think Ken did a very good job of summing up the non-residential piece. We at Schneider saw growth in manufacturing last year, which is a little bit confusing because if you look at the chart, it said it was down 30% or so. I think, with the dollar in its current condition, I mean, we hit a 28-month low last week on the ICE index. I see manufacturing really picking up in the United States. I think, whether it be, foreign investment or people building facilities here. I may be a little bit biased being from Tennessee. I see the Smyrna plant for Nissan expanding. They're building the biggest chemical plant, I think, almost in the world in Chattanooga, as well as what's happening in Volkswagen. So I may be a little bit biased there or getting, biased because of what's happening in my own dirt. But we did see our manufacturing business grow last year, and it's coming out pretty well this year also. With regards to data centers, causing a lot of growth year to date in the first quarter for us. And it's interesting because one of the major forecasting companies had the 10 jobs, the 10 biggest starts, and 6 of them were data centers. And I asked the question, I was like, why don't you forecast those? Well, we can't get a good forecast on those. So, I see that growth coming in above 10% this year. From the data center perspective. And one of the caveats that I wouldn't say I disagree with Ken on, but the retail segment, I'm not real optimistic on new store construction, but he mentioned online. We are seeing a lot of retailers putting money into conveyance systems as well as energy efficiency upgrades. So that is an opportunity for both electrical equipment manufacturers and distributors also. One of the wild cards that we always ask ourselves is, is the traditional model of non-residential following residential going to hold true? And, I sit back and think, and I pulled out some documentation on the residential end, and it said we would have 1.25 million housing starts this year. And I think most of y'all in the room know that won't happen. I think we may be half of that rate. You think about, I think the 3 biggest builders just posted quarterly earnings that were lower than last year. Houses are very affordable. The affordability index is up and rates are low, and we're still not moving. If you think about that, as well as the headwinds coming with government changes, Fannie and Freddie, probably toward the end of 2012, 2013, some financial institution is going to have to pick up the securitization of those residential mortgage-backed securities. So, I think that we may see a longer, prolonged residential slowdown. It seems like the American dream is to rent versus own right now because of the uncertainty of what's happening with prices. But I do think you'll see that non-residential recovery. And again, it'll be a mixed bag depending on what segment it is. I agree with most of what Ken said there. Offices will struggle until, employment picks up, so on and so forth. But I do see some bright spots, Kathy.
Well, good. Question for you is, realizing that the old ways of watching leading indicators may not hold true today with the way this economy is recovering. From a manufacturing perspective, how are you planning, or how do you go about funding ahead of this?
Oh, it's very difficult. I look back at some of the puts and takes we did in early 2009. We were getting non-residential forecasts that were overly optimistic, and we were challenging some of those, and we actually lowered our forecast and did not believe in what we were seeing. And again, we pretty much hit the nail on the head there. This year, we're doing pretty much the same thing. We're pulling one of these and trying to guess a little bit. But and again, I'm more optimistic, on the recovery of the non-residential. But Kathy, it is pretty much a guess.
At least I don't feel so bad then. All right. Thank you.